us any harm.
A nice fat cook wouldn't do us any harm. A nice fat cook wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all hang on behind.
So we'll
roll the old chariot along. We'll roll the old chariot along. We'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll all hang on behind.
Oh, a roll in the clover wouldn't do us any harm.
A roll in the clover wouldn't do us any harm. A roll in the clover wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all hang on behind.
So we'll
roll the old chariot along. We'll roll the old chariot along. We'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll all hang on behind.
Oh, a night spent in jail wouldn't do us any harm.
A night spent in jail wouldn't do us any harm. A night spent in jail wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all hang on behind.
So we'll roll the
My parents were Newfoundlanders, and I grew up hearing more of Harry Hibbs than I did of the Beatles. The home was alive with Newfoundland music, and I remember listening to Orion's Fancy album when one of the performers made reference to a sea shanty. It's the first time I ever heard the term, and he did it as an introduction to one of the songs. So I asked my dad. Now, my dad was a Newfoundland sailor and sea captain, and he first went to sea when he was 12. He and his father worked on my dad's uncle's schooner, and he's 12 years old. So I asked him about that. I said, sea shanties, did you guys sing when you were at sea? And he said, yes, we did. And I was quite intrigued because I can think of maybe 3 times in my life I ever heard my father sing. And to picture him and his dad and his uncle singing on board this schooner just intrigued me.
Singing, ya, ya, leave your hammocks, ya, ya, hands on deck, ya, ya, break your backs for Skipper Jan Rebeck.
Who can drink his weight in beer?
Skipper Jan Rebeck.
And who takes 2 baths a year?
Skipper Jan Rebeck.
Singing,
ya, ya, leave your hammocks.
So I thought more and more about sea shanties. I started to collect them when I was in university. And about 30 years ago, I said, someday I want to have an a cappella sea shanty chorus and just bring those songs to life. 9 years ago, I put a call out to some of the guys who I performed with before in groups. And I said, fellas, this is what I'm thinking. So we came together and we'd practice in Greg's basement twice a month. And after about 6 months, we said, let's go out and see what sort of reception we get. And off we went. Tomorrow night is our 202nd performance. And so I guess we're doing okay.
Ya, ya, leave your hammocks, ya, ya, hands on deck, ya, ya, break your backs for Skipper Jan Rebeck.
Having a sea shanty group out of St. John makes a lot of sense because St. John used to be one of the major ports in Canada in the days of wooden ships. A lot of money was made here in building ships and selling them and owning them as well. The sailors and ships from St. John were part of a transatlantic, a global enterprise, shipbuilding and shipping of the day and ship owning, and the crews were international. So not only were men and ships from St. John found in all the 7 oceans of the world and ports all over the world, but the world came to St. John in terms of ships and sailors as well. Statistics will show you that by the 1890s, about a quarter of the Canadian merchant fleet were non-English speakers. So it was a very diverse international workforce. And so men and boys from St. John who served in that industry would have worked with people from all over the world as well. And so you get that interesting cross-cultural exchange.
Je suis fier d'y être matelot.
Tiens bon le bar et tiens bon le vent, Iseo Santiano. Si Dieu veut toujours droit devant, nous irons jusqu'à San Francisco.
Je pars pour des longs mois à l'Esamago.
Iseo Santiano.
D'y penser, j'avais le cœur gros.
Well, the thing we found out singing sea shanties is that these songs exist in other parts of the world for countries that obviously where people live by the ocean. And for example, we had a song that Santiano, that one of the group members brought, and we sing it in English. And I did a bit of research, and I found the same song in French, and it really spoke to us coming from New Brunswick, obviously. And when we were invited, for example, at an international sea shanty festival in Saint-Jean-Port-Joli, we performed both in English and French, so the audience who were Anglophone and Francophone. And the groups from the Francophonie were quite interested in how a group of men singing sea shanties from southern New Brunswick were able to perform in both languages, and it sort of spoke to the internationalization, I guess, of these songs that have gone all over the world and performed in many languages and date back to so many years to the present day.
Santiano gained the day, heave away, Santiano. Santiano gained the day, all on the plains of Mexico. Mexico, oh Mexico, heave away, Santiano. Mexico is the place I know, all on the plains of Mexico. Santiano fought for fame, heave away, Santiano.
Sitting here in the cellar of a 19th century brick building in St. John, New Brunswick, and just 2 blocks away from the harbor, it's not hard to imagine a harbor filled with masts and spars of ships. And then you can take your imagination a little farther and actually hear a mate on a ship holler out, "Where's the song there? Can't any of you sing? Who's the nightingale aboard this ship?" Mates, skippers, realized that sea shanties were absolutely critical to the running of a ship. You couldn't run a sailing ship without men working together as a unit. And sea shanties provided that opportunity. They provided the pulse and the energy that kept the crew working together.
So, Lukey's boat is painted green, aha, me boys. Lukey's boat is painted green, the prettiest boat you've ever seen, aha. 1, me boys, 2, aha, 3, me boys, aha, me boys, relay, aha. 1, me boys, 2, aha, 3, me boys, aha, me boys, relay.
We often tell our audiences that our goal is threefold. First of all, to have fun, and I think that's quite apparent. Secondly, to entertain, but more importantly, to sing the songs that these sailors used to sing in a way they used to sing them. To remind our audiences of this being an important part of our maritime heritage and tradition.
Man of war.
Sam's gone way aboard a man of war.
Pretty work, brave boys.
Pretty work, I say. Sam's gone way aboard a man of war.
I wish I was the bosun aboard a man of war.
There are not a lot of groups out there singing sea shanties a cappella, and so this is our contribution to folk music, and we try to keep the stories and the songs alive.
Pretty work, brave boys.
Pretty work, I say. Sam's gone way